What's up, y'all? Welcome to MSP Waves.com. You are listening to Hangin with Who each and every Friday, 6 p.m. Eastern Time, 10 p.m. UTC is the correct time for this time of year. That's a lot of use of the word time. Gosh. Anyway, I'll be your host for the evening, afternoon, morning, depending on what part of the alleged globe you're on. I am known by many names. Some of y'all just know me as plain old JP. And of course, I've been known as White Owl for a very long time. And the avian flu thing came in very recently as more as a pen name. That will come into play very soon. I have so much stuff to go over with y'all today. First and foremost, let me say an extra special big up to everybody in the audience. First of all, familiar names. I did see a couple of new names today. I always love when that happens. I've been out the loop for a little while, so there's probably quite a few new names to me. And definitely a big up to my man Rondon the Clown, as y'all see right here in the chat if you're following along, for your dedication and your service to MSP. I know that, I know what it takes to do what you do because I know what it takes to do what I do. So thank you very much for that, sir. And One Media, my man Zig, Divine, the whole Jeff, of course, the whole Spotlight on Artists and SMA crew, OG SMA, of course. If y'all been around for long enough, the names I'm looking at, most of y'all know what I'm talking about. So I'm not going to go on too much of it, I'm not going to digress too much and too many tangents today because there's a lot of new stuff to talk about. And what's up, Zig? So as I said, real quick, let me reiterate. First of all, the disclaimer. I'm as y'all can see, I did things. If you've been following along long enough, you see a little bit of evolvement. I know. Here, specifically with this show, I've been saying for a long time, been talking a lot of shit for a while that I've been going to step up my game, tech wise, and get the show on a little bit more of a professional level. And I think I've been doing a pretty good job of that. And I think that kind of shows. Yeah, we may have to deal with that big lug nut barking in the background tonight, but that's all right. That's a funny thing. Before I even go on, that's the funny thing about podcasting. I was just actually thinking about this earlier, and when I first started with you guys on MSP, I've been doing this for a very long time. And so I was kind of thinking about kind of going over that a little bit. Again, I've talked a lot about that when I first got on the air with you guys, because Steam It in general, and then of course the community here on Discord, and of course MSP was PAL was the first community that I participated in here in Discord after having got my started on Steam It. Kind of took me back to when I first started using the internet and experiencing things like this back in the I started using the internet really in the late 80s, but when it really started to take shape and we were able to kind of do something like this was about early to mid 90s when we were able to have real time chats. And initially, before the word podcasting existed, we called it internet radio. And before that, I had a lot of experience as a DJ. I'd done from the early 90s all the way through the late 90s. I did a lot of college radio, pirate radio, a little bit of FM community radio, and I actually had a little pirate AM station of my own before I was even a teenager. It was old Radio Shack, all in one, like 101 electronic projects, and you were able to actually make a little AM, really low powered AM transmitter that could transmit like quite a few block radius. And for like a 12-year-old, 10-year-old, whatever it was a pretty big deal. I remember me and my friends used to do, we'd go in the basement and we'd do the little like puppet shows and like we did like a variety show. And it was just crazy. I remember some of the skits we did. But so needless to say, I've been at this for a long time, and having seen the internet evolve from everybody saying, calling it internet radio before even Windows Media and iTunes existed, to now, podcasting is a household word, more or less worldwide. What's up, John? I real quick, big shout out to the Candy Curate Greenhouse Radio Online crew, y'all. Love y'all. Thanks for being with us. So just hang tight because you know how I do. I'm gonna do my thing real quick. So we're talking a little bit about I guess kind of a little historical, personal perspective on the history and evolution. I like the word evolvement. it just sounds cool, but I know it's evolution of internet radio into podcasting and such, and pirate radio and whatnot. And so it was really cool because when I, even though I got the opportunity to do pirate and some FM and AM radio, like in real radio stations, it was really difficult to do that back then. Even if you wanted to build a pirate FM transmitter, even affordable, now you could do that kind of affordable. Back then, you really, you couldn't just Google it and YouTube it. You had to kind of know what you were doing. So when people started to be able to do internet radio, I remember it was probably about early 1998 when I sat back and I had a pretty decent job, and I was able to afford high speed internet at that time. I think it was DSL, and I want to say it was like $80 a month, and that was affordable with a good job at that time, and it was very, very good internet at the time through Verizon. And I sat back in my room looking at this like production studio I had, and at the time, you couldn't just download software. You had to actually have racks of gear. I actually had a rack of gear from the floor to the ceiling with all kinds of modules in it, and a 32 channel board. And of course, you can do all that now, on your phone, and everything in between. But I sat there looking at this equipment, and I had a computer. I had an iMac, one of the very first generation iMac, and no, matter of fact, I'm wrong. It was before I got the iMac. I think I got the iMac in '99 for Christmas, and I actually had it was a Mac, but it was a little bit older model. I don't remember which model it was. It wasn't all in one, but it was before the iMac. Still the beige Apple computers. And it had a separate keyboard, but the disk drives and everything and the monitor was all in one, and the hard drive and the CPU and everything was all in one. And I'm sitting there looking at this. Let me get my head out from behind the on-air sign. I'm not entirely happy with how I got this set up here yet, but we're going to play around with it over in the coming weeks. And your feedback is welcome, and your help, of course. So anyway, I'm looking at this gear, and I'm like, And I had already heard about people doing internet radio. There was a studio in Manhattan called Pseudo that was doing a little bit of internet. They were actually live streaming video in '98. That was a pretty big deal. So I'm like, And I had a friend who designed websites at the time, so I was pretty savvy and kind of knew a little bit. And I was like, wow, we could just do this here. That's great. And it just kind of blew us away at the time that we could just do this now. We could just literally just do this, like right in our bedroom, living room, whatever. And if we could afford some kind of a rehearsal space or a building to do it, and even better. But since then, I personally have been able to do this from virtually anywhere I've ever lived or hung out since then. And so back then it was, this is long before MySpace and Mi Gente and Facebook and Black Planet and all this stuff. So in order to have like this community, this interaction where you could stream and you could listen to music and you could share things and you could email and you could chat and you had to be somewhat savvy, and it wasn't really no one-stop shop. There was, it wasn't as easy as just using Facebook or just using Steemit and Discord, but it was Steemit that kind of got me to remember what that was like, because Steemit, as we know, it's really more of a blogging platform rather than social media. So sure, we can do our posts and we can have all kinds of extra interaction on the platform with comments and such, but then we're forced to use another platform altogether, which has actually essentially nothing to do with Steemit, in order to create this community that we've been able to build. This global community, and so that kind of that right there took me back to a time when the internet kind of forced you to be a little bit savvy, and you didn't get complacent and kind of stuck in one place, and you had to, if you wanted to send somebody a picture, you had to have email. If you wanted to chat, you had to use Telnet. If you wanted to stream, you had to know the URL and go to it and have a decent enough connection. And of course, with the technology now and what we're doing with Steemit and Discord, even better, because now we can do it so much faster and so much, just reach a much broader audience. And I mean, as we know, like I've learned since using Steemit, like Steemit's changed not just Steemit, but some platforms like it have changed the lives of people in third world countries. Even like we can now interact with people in Nigeria and people in Venezuela who are going through all kinds of crazy shit, and instead of trying to share these stories on the big mainstream social medias and get all squelched and censored, we've been blessed and graced with other platforms like Steemit and Discord, where we've got a lot more freedom for sure. So anyway, I wasn't really going to go on that much of a tangent about it. But since I haven't really shared much time with you guys in the last God, it's been months. I just kind of felt like reiterating some things and I see my man Frack is typing. Freedom, yeah. Listen, I know, Grim. I feel you. Freedom is a touchy subject these days. And it's a subject. It's a topic we've covered a lot here on Hanging with Who. I haven't been. If you've been following along long enough, you know that like usually on Fridays I have one big guest lined up, and it's a one-on-one between me and that guest. And at some point, I'll open it up to question and answers from the audience and such. And lately, I've been trying to tone it down a little, not for any other reason other than I'm just taking things a little bit of a different direction. I feel like some of the things that we cover, a lot of us here, we're on the same page or very similar, socio-politically and we may not see eye to eye on each and everything, but I think generally most of us here kind of agree on a lot of things and are able to get along even when we don't. But one thing I've noticed about this platform, for instance, is like there's a lot of preaching to the choir. It's not necessarily wrong, good, good or bad. It's just like I personally have reached a point where I've done a lot of cage rattling and feather ruffling in my life, and it's fun to a certain extent, and I definitely feel like I've certainly helped to turn a lot of people onto a lot of things throughout the last couple of decades of my life, but there's only so much awareness and knowledge that you can stuff in your head before you're like, well, wait a second, the fuck do I do with all that? You know what I mean? Like, we can talk and talk and talk, and we can agree on everything. We can say, yo, check, 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 check. We could be like the exact same person. But what good does that do if all we're doing is sitting here talking about it? Again, it helps because people pop in and out of the audience in shows like this who've never heard certain ideas or never thought about things a certain way, never looked at things a certain way, and past that. John, I got a funny story to tell you in a minute, but that's kind of where I am personally with things. Is like almost like a put your money where your mouth is, show and prove type of scenario at this point, where I've covered a lot of controversial and touchy, triggering subjects, right? We're all the way from vaccines to zero waste to sustainability, off-grid living, homesteading, peaceful parenting, unschooling. The list goes on and on and on. Pardon me, as I sip on some of this lovely Asheville Brewery Ninja Porter to clear my throat. And so it's good that we sit here and we discuss these things because, again, we may turn people onto things and we may come up with solutions and such and bouncing things off of each other. But again, I still have to ask myself, what good does any of this knowledge do without putting it into action? I think it was Gandhi who first said, be the change. And it's something that the school I recently graduated from took that on and started to Be the Change organization. And they did some cool things. At one point they were going out and feeding the homeless people in Newark, New Jersey by the train station and bus terminal, and they were doing it very much against the law. And I say law like this because how I feel about man-made laws. they're all pretty much all made to be broken. And so, I felt like there was some action there, and being radical in that sense, is kind of a good kind of cage rattling, where you're not necessarily hurting anyone and getting people like too terribly arrested and beat up by cops and such. But they eventually had to even, it's a university, it's still a very bureaucratic or semi-corporate organization, and especially a state university that's relying heavily on government fiat to do a lot of the things they do. There's only so much. There's only so much radical and cage rattling that they can do if they want to keep getting away with it. Although I would argue that when you're right, and you got to just do what's right, and it doesn't really matter what the law says. And like, for instance, I applaud people who go out and feed the homeless regardless of being arrested dozens and dozens of times or raided by the police or whatever. So let me move on to some positive things. I promised I wasn't going to go too much in this direction today. To myself, I promised myself I wasn't going to. So I do have some really exciting news, y'all. I've been talking for a while about a little business endeavor that my family and I are undergoing currently. And so I kind of want to talk about that a little bit. If you've been following along, you may have heard me talk a little bit about Solar Tiny Sound. And you may have heard me mention Hip Hop is Dead. Both of those are a hashtag that I'm attempting to make viral. As viral as I can make a hashtag from my little old studio here in Asheville, North Carolina. So what some of you are wondering, what am I talking about? Some of you have a clue. All right, so this is the thing. I've been doing this for a very long time, and along with this, I've been a DJ for 36 years. I've been a rave and EDM and festival promoter and organizer for about 20 years. I've worked very heavily in the entertainment business for a very long time. I've been a tech, a stagehand, a director, a videographer, a cinematographer, whatever you want to call it, editor. I've worked for big, huge companies like Cornerstone and Fader Magazine. I've worked for little people, doing little independent projects and things. I've done everything in between, a lot of Broadway, off Broadway. And have had a lot of experience through organizing and promoting events. Have had a lot of experience with what we call guerrilla marketing and sniper marketing and hand-to-hand promoting and things of that nature. So basically, I figured, look, there's got to be a way to put all this, again, as I said, all this knowledge, all these skills, all this experience to good use today, right? So this is what we've come up with. We started working on a live music project first. That's called Hip Hop is Dead. Now, why is it called Hip Hop is Dead? Well, first of all, hip hop is really my first love musically. I mean, I grew up listening to Latin music at first. Like, my mom's from Cuba, so like I think my first exposure to music was probably family gatherings where I would hear salsa and traditional Cuban music and such. And then from there, throughout my preteen years onto my teenage years, my dad was a hippie in the 1960s. Grew up in New York. He went to Woodstock in 1969. He had an extensive record collection, many crates filled with vinyl, everything from Jimi Hendrix, Janis Joplin, The Who, Joan Baez. He was huge into jazz. He had like Art Blakey records. Oddly enough, this is going to come up later, but I'll just mention this. I don't remember a single Grateful Dead record in his crates. I know, weird. We'll talk about that later. Oh, Grimm's got jokes, right? My soul is from the 60s. But my body ain't quite that old, although it feels like it sometimes. Anyway, so then really like my first true love musically, where I really chose my own music, was able to change the dial on the radio station and pick what I was going to listen to, was really hip hop. And one of the reasons was because early on, when I first started listening to hip hop, was really when samples really started taking over. And in the early days, there were some very recognizable samples that were all from the 50s, 60s, 70s, and it was mostly rock, funk, R&B, sometimes it was B-sides, but nonetheless, like, it was something that was very familiar to me. And what they were doing, as y'all know, with looping and sampling, it's typically taking the very best part, the real, bare bones rhythm of a record, which typically just the drums Sometimes it's the drums, often it's the drums and the bass, and sometimes there's a little melody or a riff in there, and you repeat it over and over again in time. And these early rappers were just like, it was very what they were doing, because I had been turned on to jazz early on. It was very jazzy, rapping was very, very much jazz influenced. It was poetry. Somebody said earlier on Spotlight on the Artist, mentioned poetry in motion and said basically rap. Yeah, that's true. I agree with that statement. So, pardon me while I dry my throat a little bit. Anyway, so hip hop is dead. Now, fast forward to 2019, probably the last decade or so, decade and a half, we've heard a lot of debate and talk about the idea that hip hop is essentially dead. Hip hop in its kind of purest form, the beats, the rhymes, the four elements, the graffiti, the breakdancing, the DJing, the MCing. And in reality, hip hop really hasn't gone anywhere. Hip hop's really changed the sound of almost every musical genre across the globe, or has been touched and influenced by every musical genre across the globe. So the relationship actually goes both ways. And I will agree if you say that the hip hop or the rap music you hear on the radio, typically on the FM dial, is certainly not the hip hop that, say, someone like me or Grim might be used to. Although Grim listens to some whack shit. It's like, I'm playing. I got my wife laughing. No, actually, Grim, you have some great taste. A little bit more mainstream than me, which is good, because you turned me on to some stuff that I've been an asshole and not listened to over the years. That's actually good. But so the idea that hip hop is dead, right? Hip hop is my first love, but a lot of you also know me and probably hear me more often playing electronic music. House, breaks, drum and bass is my fucking shit. You know what I'm saying? So here I am, White Owl, an old school hip hop DJ, MC, if you will, and I come along, get on the decks, and next thing you know, it's right. But like, then the thing is like, I'll throw down a hip hop set of all brand new tracks that just came out like yesterday, and it don't sound nothing like what's on the radio. And people are like, "Oh, is that like some '90s shit?" And I'm like, "No, that's just came out like last week," right? So then I bring the hip hop skills to the decks as well. And now with Hip Hop is Dead, we've teamed up with some live musicians, right? They may actually pop in before I'm off the air. We'll see what happens. They're on their way over here. I kind of hope so, because they've got something I'll talk about in a minute. They're bringing here that I wanted to show off to y'all. But I'll get to that in a minute. So now another one of my personal influences in life, and not initially musically, more so culturally, the Grateful Dead. My first experience on Dead Lot was actually in 1992. I was a hardcore raver, and I picked up a book of LSD, which back then they used to call it a book. It's 1,000 hits of acid. And I somehow knew, somebody had told me, I don't really remember, but I knew about the Grateful Dead. I knew about kids touring with them, and I knew that you could show up on lot and get some pretty good L. And so they were in town, Madison Square Garden, as they did every year, and Dead Lot was literally the parking garage, the roof of the last floor of the parking garage across the street from Madison Square Garden. So I went up there and I found a very typical looking, stringy, blonde haired, California type hippie with sunglasses. No, matter of fact, I'm lying. He didn't have the sunglasses on. Hold on. Tie-dye shirt, and he was up there with his Volkswagen van. I'm telling you, textbook deadhead hippie. And I'm talking to him for a minute. He's like, "Yeah, I got it in the van. I'll go get it." I think at the time, if any of you, those of you who know anything about illicit substances and the market today, I think I paid about $400 for a book, which was 1,000 hits, which is unheard of today. Unheard of. Anyway, but it was a lot of money for a 17-year-old. Anyway, so he says, "All right, give me the money." And he walked over to his van. I didn't go for some reason I didn't approach the van. I was talking to him like, I don't know, on the other side of the parking lot, but I could see his van. And I saw he walked to it, went inside. He was in there for about 10 minutes, and I think it was 10 minutes. I don't. This was quite some time ago, so bear with me on the specifics here. But I think, and knowing what I know now, it stands to reason that he laid that book for me fresh. When he came out of the van, he then had the sunglasses on. And then he had a long sleeve tie-dye shirt on. He had a short sleeve shirt on, if I didn't mention that, before he went in the van. And that makes a lot of sense knowing what I know now about laying acid. So he comes out with the book folded into sheets, which is 100 hits. So it was like folded 10 times properly. And he was holding it in his hand. If you can see me on camera, if you're watching, he's holding it out like this. And he walks over to me. And I went to grab it with my bare hand. And he pulled away a little bit. He said, hold on. He said, if you don't want to feel something right now, don't touch it with your bare hands. I said, I'm fine. The second I put my fingers to it, I definitely felt a surge of something go through my whole body. Now, I didn't trip from that. If you know anything about LSD, takes a lot to absorb through your skin. That's kind of a myth where if you like spill it on your skin, like, yeah, it does work, but you have to really kind of, be very moist and rub it in and absorb it for a while. So, but I felt it. Anyway, I wasn't in, that was, I did digress a little bit there. I was talking about musical influences, cultural influences. I didn't get into the Grateful Dead, the music. Again, I loved classic rock. I mean, there wasn't a classic rock song I didn't know the words to. If I could play guitar, I could probably play every single one of them. Not a single Grateful Dead song, although there were a lot of Dead songs I now know that I knew and didn't know as the Dead. Right? So, fast forward to some recent years in my life.
Now you have a young wife.
They can hear you. And so I did finally one day decide I've had a lot of really good friends who love the Dead and would play records for me, and it didn't take. But in recent years, I decided to finally sit down and really give them a chance, and I've gone to, I've heard Dead & Co. twice, and Dark Star once and a half. But we'll be going to Dark Star Jubilee this year. You better believe it. Yeah, well, because we were outside the venue.
It counts.
Yeah, I guess it counts. And I actually love Dark Star. I've been told by real, true, old school Deadheads who saw Jerry that Dark Star is often better, at least when you go into the later years, because Jerry was very sick and dying. And apparently, there's a lot of really bad recordings of the Grateful Dead. Nonetheless, they're still one of the greatest, musical groups ever to grace us with music. Yeah, my kids sticker there. That's from the Dark Star show. Somebody gave them stickers on lot. Anyway, so we're talking about hip hop is dead, right? So so here's the thing. So we met Star and Cheryl at a drum circle. We were there. It was our first time taking the Solar Tiny Sound out, and actually, I'm lying a little bit. We didn't have the solar power yet because I knew that in Pritchard Park, downtown Asheville, there's actually power you can use during the day. The park's open until about 10 p.m. and they're totally cool. They leave it open. You can plug your phones in, whatever. And I'd seen people plug amps and play music out there. So we took the sound, before we had the solar, just to see what would happen if we played music on the street. And sure enough, it was the shit. People were digging it. Like everybody from all walks of life, people taking selfies with us and asking them where we're playing and this and that. And this was before we met the drummers. And then we were getting ready to pack up. It was getting cold. This was one of the first nights of the season this year that people came out, but it was getting cold. The sun was going down. And these two people showed up with drums. They're like, I'm still playing. I'm getting ready to wind it down. And they're like, you mind? I'm like, please. Holy shit. We played for another hour at least, and it started getting windy, dark, and cold as hell. But we rocked. It's hard when it's too cold, because nowadays, instead of playing with vinyl, the controllers have these metal touch-sensitive, capacitive jog wheels, and so as it gets cold, my hands kind of stiffen up. But we rocked it. And I said to them, yo, I knew they were deadheads. I just knew it. You know when you meet a deadhead. You know when you meet a hippie at the very least. And I'm like, yo, I definitely been looking to, rock with some musicians again. It's been a minute. I used to do this, blah, blah, blah. And they're like, yo, we're down. We love what you do, this and that. So I'm like, yo, what do you think of this idea? I said, what if we're like a Grateful Dead cover band that doesn't play Grateful Dead songs? Instead, we play live hip-hop and EDM. And we're called Hip Hop is Dead. And like 8 people within earshot were like, what the fuck? Like, that's the most craziest, amazing shit I ever heard in my life. And they were like, yo, let's do it. We're down. So, bing, the birth of Hip Hop is Dead. And we've already had our debut gig in New York City, in Queens. I keep saying Brooklyn, and because the parties are usually in Brooklyn, but I realized it was Queens, borderline. But this venue was actually in Queens last Friday. NYCR, New York City Ravers, did their thing. As always, this was the second Get Squanchy. We were at the first one last year or the year before. I can't remember now. I think it's actually been 2 years. It's a Rick and Morty tribute that New York City Ravers is going to be doing now annually or biannually. And so this was our debut gig. We played at 3 a.m. And we were in, it was a 4-room venue. Well, 2 venues, 2 rooms. And we actually were supposed to headline and play the main stage in the one of the venues. And when I took a look, I'm like, wow, it's going to be muggy and stuffy in there. And it was getting, it was getting, the air was getting wet. And the front room was more laid back, and like we could do drum and bass or house at a rave. And I'm like, we were gonna do the drum and bass set. That's how they had us build. But I'm like, yo, they got happy hardcore and hardstyle and all this crazy stuff going on in all these rooms. I'm like, nobody's really done some like grown up music quite tonight. So I'm like, listen, we want to take the back room instead, do some live house. I'm so happy we did. I gotta tell you this. I wound up right before our set as we were setting up the drums, getting ready to go. I happen to notice an old friend of mine I haven't seen in a couple of years now, who I see every so often pop up somewhere. I just so happens the night I decide to go out once every couple of years, he does too. And he used to have the keys to one of the hottest clubs in New York City. If you ever been there back before they closed down in 2012, 13, I think. It was Club Love in the East Village, actually. Well, right in the middle on McDougal Street. One of the hottest clubs at the time was rated as the loudest, cleanest sound system on the planet. I forget now, the name escapes me, the dude who put it together, but I know who he is. Anyway, I'd seen a lot of hot acts there and got to play there a couple times, but he had the keys to the place. So we would show up there like Sunday morning after, Saturday night. The club closed at 4 a.m. in New York City. Everything closed at 4 a.m. And he'd have to help clean up and everything, and then call all his friends. It'd be like 10 of us hanging out in Club Love from Sunday to like Tuesday afternoon, free drinks. We'd order food and just hang out. It was literally just hanging out like it was a living room. And so he was there, and I know he's an old school house head, so I was like, oh, I'm so glad I decided to do this. I'm like, yo, don't go nowhere. He was so happy to see me. It was such a good night. We killed it, and we got some more gigs coming out of it. So, matter of fact, this is a great time to bring up some really, really exciting news that's actually not really my news, but I have a lot to do with this. And it's such an honor to be able to share this with you right now. I wish he was here. I should tag him and see if he's around. So now some of you might have a clue what I'm about to say because I just tagged John Vibes. And why did I do that? Well, Hip Hop is Dead is now officially booked on June 29th in Baltimore to play John Vibes' book release party. He's putting out his, I might say the wrong thing, 3rd, 4th, or 5th book. I'm so I would say 3rd, 4th, or 5th book. Very successful author. If you're not familiar with John Vibes, although a lot of you I think are, he's been on MSP with us a number of times. He was originally on Pensiv's My Life in 8 Songs. He's a good friend of mine for a long time. So John Vibes, I met. He was at the time. He was for a little while the top rave promoter. I would say maybe on the East Coast for a little bit, and definitely the top in the tri-state, Baltimore, Philly, New Jersey area, Virginia. That whole area. He definitely had that on lock for a minute with Good Vibes productions and did some of the biggest raves, some great parties. And before I hit the scene in Baltimore, he had a club called the Black. You know what? Oh, I was about. You know what? I haven't figured out now. I'm gonna have to say the name that's in the book. I was about to say the original name of the club, and some of y'all have heard us talk about it, and I think it's okay for me to say it. But I'm gonna get in the habit because for a lot of reasons, he's changed the name of the club in the book to Galaxy. And I'll tell you real quick. Like I'm writing part 2 of the book. I'll get back to the story so you understand how that's gonna happen and why that's gonna happen. And so I've actually decided to go ahead and go with the names that he's chosen for which certain characters and certain places, for a number of reasons. Although the statute of limitations is up on a lot of things that we're probably all the things that we're writing about, honestly. And him and I have agreed that we're an open book about a lot of things people won't be, that, you know, our own personal lives. So anyway, it makes it kind of easier. So before I hit the scene in Baltimore, John had it on lock, and he had this venue, Galaxy, in just outside of Baltimore. And he had it on a smash. And I heard about it in New York. They were passing out flyers. They're like, "Yo, you gotta." They were like, "You especially gotta come down here and peep this." They're like, "Please." Like, so I finally made it to Baltimore, and it was right at the tail end of John's stint there. He had a little bit of kind of headbutt with the owner, nothing crazy, but he made a decision to kind of go and take on some other venues and do some different things, and he still rocked for a while. But he, at the time, we didn't know this at the time, but he was getting ready to, you know, he was already writing, and he was going to start publishing his first books, and he was getting lecturing gigs. So he was already phasing out of the rave scene kind of, and he'd kind of fallen out of love with the rave scene for a lot of reasons, which he'll talk about in the book that's coming out, which is called Paper Squares and Purple Stars. As a matter of fact, I'm not going to tell you too much right now about the book and the title and such, because we actually just did a podcast, an exclusive. I was at we were at John's crib. We were on our way to the gig in New York, and we stopped overnight, and we recorded a podcast actually live in Greenhouse Radio. Thank you very much for that, which I haven't had a chance yet to throw up on DTube, but I'm going to do that this weekend, I promise. So where was I? You know what? I'm so glad I didn't try any of this can of milk before the show, because I feel like I'd be way lost right now. Oh yeah. I've always heard that milk, dairy, you know, is a very good lactose is a very good way to extract cannabis from oils and extracts and such, and it's supposed to strengthen it a little bit. So tried that for the first time, and I actually really messed up and made the milk too hot, but it ain't gonna go to waste. I know it is kind of gross, but I already put my tongue on it and tasted it, but it ain't going to waste, trust me. Anyway, so the book, so John was phasing his way out, and actually John and I talked about this on MSP once. We had a pretty in-depth talk about the Galaxy and our experiences, and I was on my way in. So John and I didn't really actually become friends at the time. We'd rubbed elbows a couple times, shared a couple blunts, I'm sure, and a couple of made possibly a couple of bumps, and he was on his way out, I was on my way in. And then so the reason why I'm writing part 2 of the book basically is I have a pretty amazing book I could write that picks up where his leaves off, and I'm in the last chapter of the book because, as I said, I was on my way in, he was on his way out. We rubbed elbows, and I don't want to even give it away, but he says some really cool shit about me. I've never had somebody just write about me, and they're actually publishing a book. And oddly enough, the night we spent at the house last week, which was the day before Bicycle Day, the 18th, his first test copy of the book came in the mail. So we actually got to see it physically with the cover and everything, and it's freaking beautiful. Y'all have seen the artwork. The artwork is on his Facebook. And I can actually talk about this now because he's released some information that I was not allowed to talk about before. Before the book comes out, there's an app coming out. The individual who did the artwork actually is designing or has designed an app that's some kind of a role playing game based on the book. And you're gonna get the app for free with the first chapter of the book, basically. And then after that, you gotta pay. I think it's awesome. I've done PlayStation games like that where, I have a Batman game for like a dollar or whatever. You get the whole, or $2 you get the first chapter, and it's cool as shit. It sucks you in. Then you got to pay for each chapter after that, and just haven't got around to it. But I'm totally planning on it. But anyway, yeah, this is gonna be awesome. So like, I'm even thinking here, like, damn, I'm probably gonna be in an app somewhere at some point. And so that's rolled a little tight. But anyway, so needless to say, I'm working on part 2 slowly but surely, but definitely gonna have to light a little fire under my ass now, because this book, so the app's coming out pretty soon. The date escapes me. As I said, the app's gonna be free with the first chapter. The book, he's finishing up all the major formatting and stuff right now. The test copy was actually not completely formatted even. So that'll be worth a lot of money on eBay one day. He didn't give it to me. That'll be in his family, I'm sure. But anyway, it's beautiful. The artwork is beautiful. If some of y'all have seen it already when he was on the show last time, and you can. Some of you are on Facebook. Go over and check it. And you'll see it. I'll have him back on MSP very, very soon. Probably the week the app drops. Actually, that's probably a really good idea. So, matter of fact, I'm gonna hit him up tonight, and I'm certain he'll be down to do it. Maybe the day before, day of, or day after the app drops. And so we'll be able to present the app here, and y'all can go ahead and grab your free copy of the app while we're on the air. That would be pretty cool. So we'll plan that. Making a mental note. Batman is what? Yo, don't make me tell my kids you said Batman is weak. No, sir. The only superhero that don't got superpowers. Come on, man. Put that into perspective. Anyway.
That's true.
So where was I? So the book. So the app's dropping in the coming weeks. The release party happens before the book actually drops. June 29th. That I know because Hip Hop Is Dead is booked. Now here's the really cool shit. We were on our way to New York, and we're traveling with the Solar Tiny Sound, which I haven't talked much about yet. I'm getting to that. Oh, I gotta get my head from behind that on air sign. That's just stupid, right? Who thinks that's stupid? Let me see what I can do about that. Because I like the sign. Oh, shit. Oh, what did I do here? Bear with me, guys. Center. Isn't that weird how I can just like move myself around? If you're watching, if you're listening, then you're like, what the hell is he talking about, this idiot? All right, there we go. There we go. That should be better. Anyway, so where was it? So then the app, the release party June 12th. Oh, so we were traveling to New York with the Solar Tiny Sound in order to showcase it, and what we're doing today actually is launching a raffle. I'm going to talk about that in a minute. John, bear with me. I know you said you were going to be on the air today. I told you we got a lot to go over. So anyway, this thing's out. I need a light. When we stayed at his house, we showed him the Solar Tiny Sound, and John's heard me DJ. Like he's if had he still been throwing events, I would have played for a long time for him a long time ago. So on the way home, he's telling me, I finally got the venue locked for the release party. Da da da. He's like, do you guys want to play? I said, yeah. So he gave me the option. He said, look, inside, there's a lot of DJs I need to book for this that want to be there. I'm doing 50-minute sets back to back. They're gonna just bang it out, boom, boom, boom. There's an outside section that's gonna be the smoking section. That's you have to walk past to get in and out the front door. Parking lot's right there. Do you guys want to set up the Solar Tiny Sound? That way you can showcase, vend, whatever, and play extended sets. Are you kidding? So that was a resounding yes from Hip Hop Is Dead. For June 29th in Baltimore, we'll have a flyer and all that, and Facebook invite, and John's on Steam It, so there'll be Steam It posts, and we'll be cross posting and doing all kinds of stuff. So stay tuned for that. And so the solar tiny sound, you're like, what is he talking about? A couple of y'all know what I'm talking about. All right, if you're watching, I need some better lighting. If you're watching, I need some better lighting. But I think you can make this out if you're watching. And if not, you can probably Google it. You can Google it if you want to. What this thing that I'm holding in my hand looks like a briefcase. It's a little tiny bit heavy, not terribly. It's made by a company called Renogy, and it's called the Phoenix. Now, I was turned on to the company Renogy by a fellow Steamian that a lot of y'all know and love. His name is Greg. He goes by Making Stuff. Some of y'all know that my family and I had put up a tiny house down in Georgia. We're currently figuring out how to move it up, where to move it. Somewhere we're looking for land in Asheville so we can move it up here. But we got this tiny house and we decided we were going to go off grid. We started doing, I'd been doing research for years about solar, but hadn't really looked into specific, like, okay, now I'm ready to buy something or build something or whatever. So Greg said, if you can afford it, it's really not that expensive now. Renogy is an American company. They actually sell it at Best Buy, although we did purchase this online. There wasn't a Best Buy anywhere near us at the time. I did the research. I looked at it. It was, really, really is more or less affordable if you have a half decent job or a little money put away. Not this particular unit that I just showed you, but I'm saying in general, when we first bought panels for the roof of our tiny house, I think we only spent a little over $300, probably about $350 if I recall, for 2 panels. So that's really not bad if you know how solar has evolved and what it's cost over the years. What is that? Oh, I'm getting little notes from the kids and my wife while I'm on the air. That's so sweet. I love you too. Anyway, so Renogy. So we start talking about, look, we want to do this live music project. We want to go back to traveling to festivals, but we want to kind of do it a little bit high tech and comfy because we want to take the kids. We're talking about having another baby at some point. We got the tiny house as kind of a home base and a decent vehicle and at the same time I need to be able to do this and play music and whatnot, which requires quite a bit of electricity for me. I can't just pick up a guitar and just boom. I mean, I suppose I could if I really wanted to, but I love playing music electronically. And not just that, but blogging, podcasting, and as a way to make a living doing that as well while we're on the road, we'd been looking at solar. So since we finally had experience with this company Renogy, and we knew they made good products and it was pretty affordable, we saw that they had this portable generator called the Phoenix. By itself, it's a 20-watt generator. It provides AC and DC power. You can charge it from an outlet. It also comes with a couple of connections. Like, for instance, you could just plug a light bulb straight into a wire and hang it somewhere or hold it in your hand. If you have an LED light bulb, would be the way to go because it would probably last forever on one full charge on this thing. They also had the option for an extra set of 100-watt panels, which we decided to get with this. It just made sense because it didn't cost much more, and honestly, it makes a huge difference in how quick it charges on sunny days or cloudy days even. And, it's particularly when I looked at how many things I was going to be plugging into it at once. It's not much, but, it is just a lithium-ion battery, essentially, not quite a deep cycle. So I was a little concerned, but anyway, we've had it for a number of weeks, and it really does the trick. The only thing I have noticed, I'm using a little bit of an old laptop with it, although it's a very good machine. It's got an i5 processor. I did recently doubled the RAM to 16 gigs. And the other thing I think I could do to make it run a little bit smoother is, for a long time, I've now gotten used to having a terabyte external hooked up to it. It's a 7200 RPM USB 3 in a shockproof case made by OWC, Other World Computing. I was turned on to them in the 90s. They're a very good company. They make some great enclosures and hard drives, and they have great warranties. However, that's a lot of work, I think, for a computer running DJ software and a controller to do. So I'm now going to transition into just using a thumb drive and picking and choosing tunes before a set, especially if I'm doing sets with a live group where we're doing like only an hour show or whatever. Or some pre-planned sets. I don't need to have my entire music collection with me at any given moment. So that's I think that's going to help a little bit, because what I've noticed is when I've got everything plugged in running off USB power, it just the laptop isn't quite happy with the current. It hasn't crashed. It hasn't really done anything crazy, but the other solution, there's another solution I think that I could put a little bit better. I know I can put a little bit better processor in it. It currently has an i5. I could easily swap it out for an i7. So I think that will also smooth it out, but also taking the terabyte off of it when it's in heavy duty mode will definitely help a lot. So why am I going on and on about these cool gadgets and doodads? The Solar Tiny Sound. So I showed John all this stuff, right? And this is why he's like, you guys should just do a set, an extended set outside at the book release party. You're gonna get a ton of exposure, and it's gonna be awesome for the Solar Tiny Sound. If you're watching, I'm showing off another little cool gadget here. This is a Mackie free play personal PA speaker. Now, if you know anything about live sound and PA systems, Mackie is a huge name. They've been making mixing boards and heavy duty speakers and PA systems for a very, very long time, since I was born. This is essentially this little thing that I just is able to pick up with one hand here and show you on camera. It's a tiny bit heavy, but not, it's essentially a Bluetooth speaker, but it's designed like a heavy duty PA speaker. And on the back, I'll show you here, it has real professional connections for XLRs, 1/4 inch. It also has your standard mini jack that all consumers are accustomed to, and it's Bluetooth. And it has a couple of other bells and whistles like some preset EQs. Also, it will work with an app wirelessly that will then expand other features inside of it that will give you a little bit more control over the sound. I actually haven't even done that yet, and we've had it for weeks. I've been using it just out of the box. The other really cool thing about this is, now if you were to buy this speaker on its own, you get it with a power cord. So you have to plug it in, right? So I would have to, if I was taking this out with the Solar Tiny Sound as is, I would have to actually plug it into the generator and be using quite a bit of power, actually. However, sorry for that thump there. There was the optional lithium-ion battery made by Mackie. Depending on the volume, depending on how much you push it, you can get 5 hours out of it. You really, really want to push it, you're only going to get an hour. I'm going to be honest with you. But anybody, with half a brain knows that. Like, if you really want to push it, it's a lithium-ion battery. You're going to get about an hour of clean sound. You want to get some clean sound for hours and hours? You want to lower your volume a little bit. Background music. That's okay. So that goes right in there, where you can also, yeah, it does look like a laptop battery, Rondon. That's probably more or less what it is. Oh, so really cool, before I put it away, I don't know if you could see that on camera, but say you had two of these. I only got one, but say you had two, you can charge one with the plug that comes with the adapter that comes with the speaker. So you could have one charged while one is being used. So I do plan on getting a backup. And so that goes in there, where you can also, if need be, put D batteries. Now that would get a little pricey. I don't know how long that would last, and I know you can get rechargeable D batteries. I don't think that's very sustainable. I don't like, those kind of batteries will ultimately go in a landfill. Now again, a lithium ion battery is eventually going to die too, but it's going to last a very long time. Very, very long time. and can probably actually be revived, actually, if you really know what you're doing. So, Rondon says get 10 deep cycle batteries. Yeah, I mean that's great if you're able to carry that around. And you know that's and I've actually seen groups and I've seen DJs use, some heavy duty deep cycle batteries and inverters, and an inverter can be pretty big and clunky and heavy and pricey. What's awesome is that this setup, this Renogy, you can use it by itself. It's going to take a little bit long to charge if you're charging it in the sun just on its own. But we did get the extra 100-watt panels, which I'm not going to get up and show you. And that we charged it one day where it was sunny all day, and it charged about as quick as it does plugged into the outlet at home, which is pretty damn quick. I didn't time off the top of my head. I've been working on timing everything and kind of keeping track of it to see how it changes over time. I'll be sharing that information with you as we move along. So basically the idea is we are launching today a fundraiser, which is a raffle for the Solar Tiny Sound. Now, the Solar Tiny Sound is not just the solar generator with the panels and the Mackie speaker. That will also include the Pioneer Serato DJ controller and the Dell laptop that I've been using all along to play music for all you wonderful people. Both of those items are being refurbished by a professional right here in the town of in the city of Asheville, North Carolina. I'm going to share with you in the coming weeks, and actually we're going to be shooting a podcast with him at his shop in downtown Asheville at a place called Foxy and Company, which is right next door to a venue called Sly Grog, where we're going to be ultimately doing a launch party with a food truck in the coming weeks. Foxy and Company is freaking awesome. It looks like a little thrift shop when you first walk in, with some really cool, hip, vintage stuff. Some of it's kind of pricey, some of it's not. In the very back, he has a whole operation where he modifies and circuit bends damn near anything. He actually has a circuit bent Yamaha keyboard. It's called a PSR6. It's the first keyboard I ever got when I was a kid. Gosh, I was probably 12 or 13 when I got this keyboard. Maybe even 10, 11 when I got this keyboard. And he has one that he circuit bent with all kinds of filters and LFOs and modulators on it with patch cables. It's freaking awesome. He modifies. He's in a punk. I don't know if it's a punk rock band, but he said like something like kind of hardcore punk, but very electronic 8-bit. They use old Nintendos and game systems that he circuit bends and modifies. I haven't heard them play yet, but the idea is to kind of team up with him and get him on board with this whole Solar Tiny Sound and refurbish and modify the used gear that's going to be included in the secondhand gear that's going to be included in the Solar Tiny Sound raffle, the controller and the Dell laptop, which, as I said, has the RAM is brand new, doubled to 16 gigs. The Pioneer controller actually not only comes with Serato DJ Pro, but also has an Innofader, which if you're a DJ, you know anything about crossfaders. The Innofader is basically the best crossfader you can get on the market. It's the preferred crossfader of all top turntablist, controllerist, scratch DJs all over the planet. Qbert, I'm sure, uses an Innofader. I know tons of people who use Innofaders. It's usually about $100 to get an Innofader that fits your mixer, and I did that when I first got this mixer, and it's just been recalibrated. So I kind of goofed just now. Well, I don't know if I goofed or you goofed. You saw that my beer was empty, and so I had told Mary to pay attention to my beer because I wanted to. Some of the things I've talked about on the show over the years. One of the things is zero waste, and now that we're living in Asheville, we're able to actually get our beer completely zero waste. Where we're playing this Saturday is called Asheville Pizza, which is part of Asheville Brewery. Every day they'll sell you a refillable glass 64-ounce growler of your choice of beer that's on tap there that they brew themselves. And so on Thursdays they have a pretty sweet deal where you get this filled for $10. So every Thursday my wife and I go get our own growler filled. And this week I'm sipping on one of their own brews. It's called the Ninja Porter, which I absolutely love. So cheers. And guess what? If you, some of y'all know me, so this is a pretty big deal. I just realized yesterday that the supermarket down the street, which has a ton of zero waste and pretty much all organic, non-GMO everything, I kind of joked when we walk up to the building because it says non-GMO really big in the window. I'm like, look, the concrete's non-GMO, which it probably is. But anyway, they have fresh locks that I can get in bulk by the pound, wrapped in paper. Oh my God, I stopped buying locks years ago because it's always in this heavy duty plastic with the cardboard backing. I missed it so much. Oh, that bagel was delicious this morning. Oh God. See, you learn to appreciate things when you're that asshole that just won't buy plastic. Anyway, John, are you listening? Are you awake? You up, buddy? I think it's a good time to bring on a guest. I'm gonna have to check my time. Yes, we are in the last hour. And real quick, as I bring on John from Canna Curate and Greenhouse Radio Online and possibly Fracas as well, let me remind you, you're listening to MSPWaves.com live and worldwide. And right about now, you're listening to Hangin with Who live from the city of Asheville, North Carolina. I welcome you and thank you for being with us. Lovely, lovely, lovely audience. I see everybody here. I'm going to do the romper room thing. Crimmy, what's good? We keep forgetting Thursday nights where Lily has been really getting into PS3. And I know she absolutely loves your show. She still does, and she asks about it all the time. But it's just the wrong day when she asks about it. And then on Thursday night, she's wrapped up in the PS3, and I forget. So my bad. Zig, I already shouted you out. Pensive, oh my gosh, thank you. So good of you to join us. And Major Tom, I already shouted you out, Ron. You got the big up right at the top of the show. Pretty nice video. How you doing? Welcome. Haven't seen you before. Welcome. And I know you, Space. I know you. There goes Pensive with his little penguin. So, Grim, if you're listening, you want to, you know what? Matter of fact, I'm just going to drag and drop your ass. And I might actually have to change my push to talk real quick. Hello, Grim. Are you with us, sir? No. I see you're muted. Why? What happened? Oh, you bastard. All right. John, how about you? You already said you could. All right. Well, anyway, while we wait to see if John is awake, what are you confused about? I'm here to answer your questions. This is not your ordinary Hanging with Who. I see that you're a new name to me. A week ago. I don't know. I've been away. I've been away from MSP for a little bit, and I have to apologize to everybody for that, particularly Rondon. I got chewed out a little bit. And I know commitments are commitments. I know Grimm's words, but life is life too. What can I say? Anyway, John, I see you lighting up green, but I do not hear you, sir. Oh, I know why. I think I know why. Say hello, John. I'm not getting you, buddy. Rondon, if you're listening, I'm pretty sure I got everything. Pardon me. All right, Rondon looks like he's going to help us out for a moment. So let me see if I missed anything. I didn't show off the little sign that we made. Oh, and I didn't talk about the T-shirts yet. Gosh. All right, talk about zero waste and sustainability. So this is a little sign with a QR code that we're going to be displaying with Solar Tiny Sound and Hip Hop is Dead, so people can run up while we're playing and we're enthralled. We're deep in the music and can't really stop and chit chat. Although ideally we'll have people touring with us, and the kids will be around most of the time, so they can always entertain the restless natives while we play music. T-shirts, they're actually ready. I was supposed to have them to show off to you, and I've got 52 minutes to see if that happens. If it doesn't, no big deal. Oh, so is he not able to join us? Because, okay, I thought he said he was. I wasn't sure. All right, so we've got the, and that's the other thing that I'm supposed to have for you. The Hip Hop is Dead logo, which I had been waiting for since before the show. And so let me see real quick while we're talking if I got it, and I think I do. Haha. All right, give me a moment, everybody. I've got to download it. If you hear me clickety-clicking, that's because I'm grabbing it off of Facebook. I've been waiting for the artist to send it to me because I only had it on my phone. Let me title it so I don't lose it. Let me close that so I don't lose some bandwidth. And there it is. Sometime in the next hour or two, I will have about 100 T-shirts made from recycled plastic bottles in a plant that is 100% solar with this logo on it. And you know what? My sentiments exactly. I'll tell you the one thing I don't like about it. I've already spoken to the artist, who is a very good friend of mine, who is actually an amazing graffiti artist, as you can see. He's a tattoo artist as well, and he is next level with it. You'll see in the coming weeks too. I'm going to be finishing some pieces that I'm not going to show off to you right now, and my wife and I are getting some new pieces from him. So this right here will be delivered to me shortly on about 100 T-shirts, sustainable T-shirts. We got 3 different colors. We got sizes for men, women, and children. The colors are called, Rebel Blue, Vino Red, and Space Black. And it's going to have this on the front. It's going to have a small logo from the gentleman who sourced the materials and did the silk screening for us. Also a pretty sustainable operation. Not quite as sustainable as I'd like, but one step at a time. Now, this is how the raffle is going to work real quick. Real quick, I think. You know what? Let me check my private messages, because I was trying to invite somebody who's never been to MSP before, who I'm really, really excited for you guys to at least chit-chat with. So if you give me a moment, I'm going to send him another invite real quick, because I see he's messaged me, so he's probably alert. All right. And I will. Okay. All right. So the T-shirts are on the way. So this is how it's going to work. This is how the raffle's going to work. The lowest tier. Oh, matter of fact, I can share with you guys while I talk about it the link to the raffle, because this is an online raffle, obviously, because I want to be able to reach as many of you as I can. Although I don't know if we're going to be able to do overseas, because to ship this might be a little pricey. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. If somebody, hits us up from across the ocean and they're really, really, I guess it's up to them. We'll talk about it. Anyway, check this out. This is how the raffle's going to work. $25 to start is going to get you a t-shirt with the Hip Hop is Dead logo and a raffle ticket for the Solar Tiny Sound. After that, tier 2, $50 is going to get you 10 chances to win the raffle and a Hip Hop is Dead t-shirt. Then the next 2 tiers are geared more towards business owners. Okay, the next tier is $100. That's gonna include. Now let me. I don't want to tell you the wrong information. Let me actually click on the link because this just kind of came together today. Even though we've been working on it for weeks, it just everything kind of got finalized. So I want to make sure that I give you the correct information. I don't want to, anybody claim false advertising and sue me for all my steam. All right, so the $100 tier will include one hip hop. Oh, I do see typos. Hip Hop is Dead t-shirt, 10 raffle tickets. Now, this tier is aimed at business owners and will include one graphic ad, which we'll design it for you. But if you have one you're really, adamant about, that could happen too. The ad will be run during our live podcast and all the streams we do, all the music streams from all over the tour, as well as on the website, since it's a graphic ad. It can be a gift too, and blogs and social media for 1 year. Okay? The next tier above that is limited to only 3. We're only going to sell 3 of these. Okay? There's a reason for that. There's a lot of work involved with this one. It's a $500 tier. This is going to include 10 Hip Hop is Dead t-shirts, 25 raffle tickets, and what I've written here is this tier is for local business owners. Now, local, we're going to probably have to describe that a little bit at some point because we're willing to venture somewhat. Okay, so we'll kind of figure that out as we go along. If you purchase this tier, we will organize an event at your place of business. Now, it might be at your home. It just depends what kind of business. You may decide to do it in a public park somewhere. We can talk about that. This event will feature Hip Hop is Dead and the Solar Tiny Sound, along with other supporting DJs and musical acts. We will provide catering with our food truck for the event, and we will shoot the event with professional cameras and videographers. Once the event is over, we will edit a short documentary about your business, which will be featured on this podcast. I should say that and have a link to it actually. And then we will also edit a commercial, about a 1-minute commercial out of all that footage to run during the podcasts for 1 year. However, the commercial and the documentary will also be yours to keep. The business owner, whoever it is that enters the raffle, these 2 professionally shot and edited pieces will be yours to keep to then use wherever you want. So if if you've ever had a commercial or a radio ad, that there's a lot of ways you can use that. You can have them run on different local radio stations, public television. If you've got money, heck, you can put it on a regular network. It's actually not that pricey. Sometimes local movie theaters will run your ads. Sometimes local businesses and bars and things will have TV like in the bathroom and such that will run your ads. So that's the kind of ad that we'll put together for you. We'll have audio as well, so you can use it. We'll edit it so you can be used visually with no audio, or it can be played on television or on the internet with audio. We're going to have some guidelines, however. I'm going to read this part to you. We do have some guidelines for what sort of ads and businesses we will support. It is our aim to engage in this endeavor in the most sustainable way possible. We are proponents of ideas such as zero waste and the peer-to-peer business model. We would like to be a sort of multifaceted multimedia marketing company which acts as a liaison between the public and local sustainable businesses everywhere we tour and host events. With the Solar Tiny Sound, we can host pop-up shows and parties virtually anywhere at any time. So that's kind of where everything that I've been talking about for years and years comes into play. It's why I said earlier, the whole put your money where your mouth is and enough talk, time for some action. Yes, I just quoted Cypress Hill. I absolutely just quoted Cypress Hill. And Gandhi earlier, I think. this is something I really hope. This is why I wanted really kind of why I wanted to talk to John from Can and Curate, because y'all know how much I love the cannabis industry. I've been involved in it for quite some time, both on the illegal side and the legal side. And oh, John, see, I don't know what happened, man. I dragged you in, but for some reason, I'm not getting any audio from you. So I don't know if it's your. I'm looking at my settings real quick, and I am good to go. Oh, wait a minute. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Let me see what happens if I. Pardon me, folks. I'm going to see one more time real quick if I could. Yeah, I'm checking that, Rondon, and on my end it's okay. He should be going through my desktop audio. For some reason is not. I'm checking in OBS. Device should be default. Try now, John. Give me some words.
Amy, what's up?
No.
Oh. Hey, pensive. He's.
No, sir. Oh, did you hear him? Because I don't. I don't, Rondon. Audience, bear with me because apparently you guys can hear him, but I cannot. I know my Discord settings are correct. Input is the mic. Output is my mixer. Oh. I wonder if this affects it.
Yeah.
Talking? Huh. Alright, John, how about now? No, I'm going to try one more thing. John, give me a hello. No, that didn't work. Oh, I know why. How about now, John? No. Didn't work. Alright, I apologize, ladies and gentlemen. John, I'm going to have to get that ironed out for next time. That's my bad. Yeah, Rondon and I actually during sound check realized that I was having I have this new sweet setup as I showed off a little bit earlier, but I've been as you can see, I've had a lot going on, y'all. So I've got a lot of good reasons why I've been slacking a little bit on getting back on the air full time, because I've been kind of ironing out a lot of kinks in a lot of different directions. So my monitor situation right now is a little weird. I don't know. I wasn't able to hear my bumper music earlier, and now I can't hear John. And I've done this. I've been doing this for years. I should be pretty savvy, but sometimes it's just with computers. It's just that one thing you just didn't. You knew it, but you just takes a few clicks to remember and figure it out. So that's my bad, y'all. So and you know what? I've been going on long enough and I got a lot to cover anyway, so I haven't even really gone into any real topics, any kind of current events and news and things, which usually when I'm on the air I like to try to pop over to my Project Peace group where I post almost daily, very often multiple times a day. And sometimes I go days and weeks without posting because it just depends on what's going on in the world. I'm shied away from the political stage years ago, and I'm really only going with, well, I mean, everything is political essentially, but I'm really only touching on, health and wellness and economics and lifestyles and cultures and such. So one of the things I've been doing with the show is I've told you all about this a number of times, and for you, those of you who have not listened before, if you're on Facebook, some time ago, John Vibes actually was on the show, and we talked about the great Facebook purge, or the great social media purge when the elections were going on, and Facebook first started to delete all these radical alternative groups, radical groups like Police to Police and Cop Block and Free Thought Project and whatnot. And some years before that, I'd been posting some pretty radical and controversial stuff, and I just kind of started to, I saw it coming, if you will, even though nothing had really happened to me. Facebook wasn't deleting my posts or blocking me or anything, or even warning me at the time, because I'm going back a number of years before that really started happening. But I noticed it because of the way people were behaving and reacting to things, not just to my posts, but in general throughout Facebook. And I just kind of saw it coming. And so before the shit really hit the fan, years ago, I decided to start toning it down a little bit as far as what I post publicly. And I created a private group that I was only going to invite people I knew, or people that I at least had, thought were cool enough that I could trust them to be in this group and not freak out about things. And how many, I wonder how many, I've got 147 members now, which is really nothing. It's a drop in the bucket for most.
I got 15,000.
my wife pointed out she's got a group with 17,000 people, but we started this group, she started the group like 6-7 years ago. It's called Moms and Dads on a Budget, Ocean County Moms and Dads on a Budget, Ocean County, New Jersey. There were a couple of groups. So real quick, I'll digress for a second, because this is actually a pretty big deal. She is actually the creator and moderator of the number one, on a budget group, Moms and Dads on a Budget group in Ocean County and in that whole area of New Jersey. Actually, oddly enough, there were a couple of groups that existed already. One was called Dads on a Budget. One was called Moms on a Budget. There were a couple other kind of spin-offs, and none of them were quite like just kind of a one-stop for everybody, all-inclusive. So she started one, and it took off unbelievable, and it's so super active to this day. We get requests every day, it's ridiculous, it's crazy. And I see people, hundreds and hundreds of people posting and actually getting rid of things and giving things away and trading things and selling things. It's pretty awesome. Talk about sustainability. That was, well, I digressed quite a bit. So anyway, as I started to see things develop and go in a really bad direction on social media, I thought, let me see what happens if I start a private group and I only invite people who I know really want to be there. And then that's where I'd post, some of the more radical and controversial things. And it hasn't been touched by Facebook once. I can say, if you're in that group already, and if you're not, and if you are still on Facebook, I will share it with you here. Yeah, Grim, I think you are in the group, right? A couple of you guys, I noticed a couple of y'all, every time I talk about this, I always get one or two new people from Steven. I've seen it happen. So what I do is, like, I've been using this as I've been doing these podcasts over the years as a way to make these little notes to myself about the things that some of the things I want to cover, and sometimes it's a way that I actually get guests, where I'll post a really interesting article about something. I'll reach out to someone from the article or whoever wrote the article or whatever, and yes, you probably just heard the toilet flushing. That happened. Was it me? So yeah, send me requests. I'll know if they come in today that it's one of you guys, and I'll approve it right away. Because as I said, I have to be somewhat careful if I want to keep this group going, because I think that this is the only way that Facebook is okay with this sort of stuff happening, and it seems so, because Also, the Free Thought Project, Cop Block, Police to Police, and a lot of these other groups have since returned to Facebook and also done this. And I don't know if I'm at all responsible for that, but I remember telling John Vibes quite a couple of years ago, hey, you guys might want to think about a private group. I know you're getting ad revenue, and I know like this is paying your bills, but and I hate to say it, but anyway, and so I've seen them. They've all done this. They've all come back. There is a Police to Police 2.0, Cop Block 2.0, and these are all invite only private groups, and of course they've got thousands and thousands of followers. But I'm happy with my little 147. To be honest with you, as I said, I mostly did this for myself so that I could remember from week to week some of the different things that I wanted to share with you guys and different articles I want to read and some, as I said, most of the people in the group are people I actually know. They're friends and family and associates and such. So, a lot of stuff happening on the psychedelic front. I'm really, really excited about what's gonna happen in Colorado. They're gonna legalize psilocybin, and I wouldn't doubt if they become the first state to legalize LSD. And I'm on board with that. Yes, absolutely. I think that cannabis. We've learned in recent years that cannabis is good for so many things. It's such an awesome medicine, and I've even learned recently that it's not just the THC, but CBD is so important, and a nice balance, and sometimes even more CBD than THC is really essential for a lot of ailments and conditions and such, and even people who are daily smokers just because they just like to smoke pot and get high. Like honestly, like I think that when there's a lot of CBD in there, it really balances things out and evens things out, so that I wouldn't have believed this years ago, and I even kind of lied to myself about it over the years because I was a really serious pothead and just wanted to smoke pot. But there is such a thing as too much THC. There really is, depending on the strain, of course. But some of you, those of you who consume cannabis, can probably relate to those times when you smoked a specific strain and it you probably didn't even know what you were smoking at the time. There were many years went that none of us had a clue. Let's admit that at some point. And you'd get the shakes, or you'd get the muscle pains, the tension, sometimes a headache, and sometimes that's because you were smoking some swag from grown in somebody's backyard. But sometimes it was the strain. It was the THC. As the THC increased, so did some of the symptomology that we weren't accustomed to with cannabis use, and that we're now learning that there's ways to quell that with by balancing out the CBD. And CBD makes it so that we can use cannabis as medicine for anybody of any age and people who don't necessarily want to get high but still want to reap the benefits of cannabinoids. Oh wow. If you're watching, y'all, Lily, my older one, she's gonna be 9 this summer. She's been learning how to make jewelry and all kinds of things, and she's become quite the little entrepreneur on lot and at shows and such. And she just made a little person, a cute little pearl. That's person. Cool. That's cool. Stay tuned, because one of the things that I want to share with you at some point that we're working on is the kids segment of the podcast. So that's gosh, so much. See, Ron, there's I wasn't just not just trying to sleep in on Fridays. Got a lot going on. So the Solar Tiny Sound raffle officially launches today. Only I had a little issue. If you look at the link that I sent you, we can't start processing debit and credit cards just yet because I just gave them all the information today. So it takes a couple of days to process. Today's Friday, so I imagine we're not actually going to be able to take debit and credit cards from anybody that's not in person until Monday or Tuesday. In the meantime, while we're going out and playing this weekend and vending this weekend, I can take payments on my phone. So we are officially launching we are going to say that we're launching the raffle today. And the tour essentially already started last week with the debut in New York. There's going to be a lot more gigs coming at you. I am going to return to a more full-time podcasting schedule. Still gonna have to juggle a little bit of a full-time job for a number of weeks and still kind of play catch up and make ends meet a little bit, because as you can see, I've been doing some investing, and so even though we did play catch up, we kind of still have to catch up to what we've done thus far. But the t-shirts will be here hopefully in the next half hour, but maybe not. So real quick, let me take a look at Project Peace and see if there's anything. Oh, yes. I'm wondering how many of you are aware of the huge news that has hit medical and scientific journals in the last handful of days. And I'm talking mainstream Mayo Clinic, NIH, motherfucking global medical journals that every stupid quack with a stethoscope and a white coat and a vaccine needle in his hand reads and has to adhere to. Studies are showing that the measles virus can actually destroy cancer cells and cure cancer. And the measles is probably gluten-free, I would think. the vaccines aren't. That's for shit sure. Oh boy. So it's interesting because we have seen a tremendous increase in the rate of different cancers since the advent of the measles vaccine, and of course the tremendous increase in the rate and potency of the vaccines. So, no, the measles, right? Rondon says if you're following around if you're following the chat, measles aren't even dangerous relatively, and he's absolutely right. I mean, it's very, very, very tiny percentage of people who have ever died from the measles. The measles is a pretty easy thing to get over for most healthy individuals. At one time before the vaccines really took over the pharmaceutical industry, a lot of parents would have measles and chickenpox parties, and as a matter of fact, I'm sure that almost everyone here has seen the clips from the old Brady Bunch show, where that's probably on YouTube, where like they had an episode where the mom was checking off on a chalkboard like which diseases the kids got. Oh, measles, all right, got over that one. Chickenpox, got over that one. Mumps, got over that one. Boom. And that's literally what people used to do. I had the chickenpox. I don't remember ever having measles or mumps. I know I was vaccinated, but I was vaccinated from 1975 until the early 80s. They weren't nearly as many vaccines, and there definitely was not thimerosal in them at the time. Thimerosal didn't really pop up until about 1991 when my wife was born, and as y'all know, she incurred some pretty serious vaccine damage and has struggled tremendously with epilepsy and a lot of other neurological and arthritic conditions over the years as a result. So, of course, my kids, who you can see behind me, are 100% unvaxxed, baby. And so apparently, apparently having the measles...
Learn from our mistakes.
Yeah. Apparently having the measles can help at least reduce your risk of cancer or the rate at which the cancer cells multiply. Thereby probably making it easier for cannabis to cure your cancer, because one of the things that I've noticed, I say this from not personal experience, but observation of a very close individual, actually John Vibes, who battled lymphoma, partially, mostly with cannabis, but ultimately with some chemo, because he was unable to maintain a really proper diet. He has issues he struggles with a form of an eating disorder, which makes it difficult for him to do what someone with cancer has to do and go 100% vegan and raw and organic and non-GMO and such. So although he did use cannabis the entire time, and even the doctors admitted that it was because of the cannabis that he didn't lose his hair and that he actually made it and survived the cancer. So I say this from some level of experience that where was I going with that? that probably, having vaccinated people, against measles and which we also know doesn't even always work, but so few people get the measles and other like diseases that were once common in childhood, which strengthened the immune system. And of course, at the time, we didn't really have GMO foods. Uh, it, you know, now it probably makes it harder for cannabis to fight the cancer cells. You're gonna hear a train coming behind me. I did close the windows, but nothing I can do about that. The train. We love the graffiti. So I heard that Trump said something too about the measles vaccines now because apparently there's some outbreaks. Like honestly, like bring it on, baby. So that's huge news. That's huge news for us tinfoil hatters. I've been using the two hashtags, unvaxxed and winning. The other thing that I like to bring up a lot that really just either pisses people off or shakes them and wakes them is the global plastic problem, which I've been saying for years is the single number one global problem that we have as a species, above and beyond the opioid crisis, above and beyond any and all wars, above and beyond racism and sexism and the struggles of the LGBT community and all these different things that are going on in the world. Honestly, if we don't do something about the plastic problem yesterday, we're fucked. And not like you and me are fucked. Like I could still live another 60 years, but like mankind isn't gonna make it, y'all. And that's a fact. I don't really care what your opinion is about it, but it is what it is. I don't put my faith 100% in science. I don't put my faith 100% in anecdotes, but it's very often you don't need either or. Very often, like you just look around you. Just stop for a second and just think for a second. Just put things into perspective. Just ask yourself, like, really, is this okay? And it's pretty easy to come up with the answers. Making t-shirts out of recycled plastic bottles is not the answer, because we still need plastic bottles to do that. But if we stop making plastic bottles and we keep making shirts, I think eventually that at least at the very least that will be one solution. But there are many. And it isn't just like, people, they're like, oh, well, we're banning straws and we're banning plastic bags. Go to the supermarket where they banned plastic bags and see how much plastic there still is on the shelves.
Little hanger factory.
Go to the restaurant that serves paper straws and see how many to-go containers that they have still out, little condiment packets that are still made out of plastic. I mean, this is what I'm talking about. Action. This is what I'm talking about. And you know what? We can sit here and wait for the government to pass legislation. Fuck you. Seriously. I mean, I can't put it any other way. Like, let's keep it real, people. How many waiters and waitresses have I had look at me and my wife crooked and be like, "You don't want lids and straws for the kids?" But we have these. What if they
spill the cups? The kids can't have cups without lids.
You know what's crazy? In the last couple of years, I'm the only idiot who spilled a cup at the diner one day because I was telling my kids and I was reaching over the table and I spilled the goddamn cup and the waitress laughed at me.
I'm like, shit, we should have
And we're by no means perfect. And by no means can I even say that this family is 100% zero waste. I've been saying this for years, and you're going to make a lot of mistakes in the beginning. Trust me, you're going to forget a lot. You're going to sit down at the table and order drinks, and you're going to go and you just got to have that coffee, and you're on the road, and there's not another place for miles. Like, I get it. But each and every time you make one of those mistakes, it should be a reminder, and the next time it should get easier and easier, As I said, I'm very, 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 very happy to be eating lox and cream cheese again at home. Oh, I haven't had a grape. How long has it been since we've had grapes?
What?
How long has it been since we've had grapes?
I miss grapes.
Years.
Years.
Oh, what the fuck? Why can't we get grapes
We miss grapes.
that aren't in plastic or styrofoam? All right, so Colorado's going to legalize psilocybin and probably LSD before anybody else. And that's certainly going to help change a lot of people's perspectives and ideas and mental state. How about Notre Dame? We can repair that motherfucker in a day, but we can't feed starving children down the street. I thought I was going to say Africa, didn't you? Yeah, we can't feed starving children down the street. But we're going to rebuild Notre Dame. And don't worry, they saved Jesus' crown of thorns too. Yeah, they got that motherfucker in one piece. I've missed you guys. I really have. I wish I could get y'all on the air. I'm so sorry that I'm dirty bird meat. Dirty bird meat probably causes mad cow disease, actually. Oh, man. I was vegan at one point. You know, I didn't realize when I first went vegan, it was 1994. I was 19 years old, and I used the word vegan. I didn't realize it was more a philosophy about, you know, a do no harm towards animals code rather than like about your health and well-being. I actually didn't know that till very, very recently. I just maybe 5 years ago or so. All this time I just thought that it was veganism was just like, hey, I just don't want to eat meat for whatever reason and I want to be healthy and, you know, maybe lose some weight, whatever. I definitely agree that we should be respecting animals, and if you're eating palm oil, you're an asshole. But I'm not against eating animals, that's for shit sure. If you got your own healthy, happy chickens, by all means have at it. You know, you got a pasture and you can raise some happy cows, by all means, man. Let's go have some T-bones. Although I won't eat pork, I won't eat meat for personal reasons and health reasons. I don't judge, and I'm perfectly okay. Like, I think that a little, you know, some meat is probably good for us. It's debatable whether or not you really absorb a lot of nutrients and whether or not it's good for your colon and your digestive system. I personally don't think it is. I've had experience and I don't like the way I feel.
If you've ever butchered a pig, you should know it's
yeah. But factory farming is completely wrong and immoral. You know, the mistreatment of animals in any way, shape, or form. And here's the thing that really gets me about vegans. I do love y'all. I've got so many good friends that are vegans. But if you're driving cars using fossil fuels on paved roads and all your food comes in plastic,
and the tampons are fucking
you know, like, are you really a vegan? Yeah. And some of y'all motherfuckers are so hard on the rest of the world. Like, give it a break, really. Oh man, oh, I've missed y'all. I really have. I've only got about 15 minutes left, and I got the green light to pirate with y'all tonight, and so I think that's gonna happen. As a matter of fact, while I'm talking to y'all, I'm gonna boot up half of the Solar Tiny Sound here. I don't need solar because I'm indoors today. But I did my first test run actually was in the house because it took a while to kind of wrap my head around how the whole flow and current was going to work, and even the current flowing through the wall in a lot of cheap ass apartments really bugs things like laptops and desktops out too. So what I experienced with the solar sound was really not all that strange to me. But we're gonna set up for a practice session for tomorrow's show with Hip Hop is Dead over at Asheville Brewery's Asheville Pizza. I actually like their pizza. It's not my favorite pizza in Asheville. Asheville has some really good food, and the beer culture here is incredible. Crimmy, I know you'll appreciate this. I mean, I don't know if you're a beer drinker, but I know you're a drinker, so you'll just, you know, the beer culture here is incredible. They have the breweries per capita in the United States, and I've appreciated. I've not been a big drinker most of my adult life, but always appreciated good alcohol, particularly beer and wine and whiskey. And the beer here is to die for. I'm not going to kid you, and most of it's not very expensive. The food here is to die for. Being from New York, very hard to appreciate pizza in most places. There are two places right now that I absolutely love the pizza here. One of the things I did mention weeks ago when I was on the air with you guys is that one of the things I plan to do here on the weekly show is to do a 5-week series on the city of Asheville. So that's something that is currently in pre-production. As I mentioned earlier, we're going to be shooting over at Foxy and Company in downtown Asheville, and we're also going to be doing an event and shooting and live streaming from Sly Grug with Hip Hop Is Dead and the Solar Tiny Sound. So that's going to be part of the 5-week series on Asheville. Asheville has so much to offer. What's so cool about it, I'm going to step off frame for a second. I know y'all can still hear me. What's really, really cool about this place, if you know anything about North Carolina, I don't know if Tiger left us. Yeah, she left us. She lives in North Carolina, quite a few hours from here, but it's a big state. Originally she was like, oh God, why are you moving here? I get it. It's a very, very hardcore Republican conservative state. When you are within Asheville city limits, you will never believe in a million years that you're in the thick of the Bible Belt in the Deep South. Not only is it absolutely a very clean and beautiful city surrounded by mountains, there's hardly any styrofoam here. When you walk into a place that has styrofoam, you're kind of like in shock because like, whoa, you guys in here? There's a lot of places that have compostable everything. There's a lot of bulk and zero waste shops. You can get just about anything. You can get dish soap. You can get shampoo. You can get your cooking oils, your vinegars, your cleaning products. You can get. A matter of fact, those of you who've been following along long enough know that we have been making our own household cleaning products for 5 or 6 or 7 years now, and we did try our hand at vending them. Well, we now have a store in Foxy and Company, where we're going to be streaming from in the coming weeks, is going to be carrying our homemade cleaning products, our multi-surface cleaner, and our laundry soap. So that's super, super, super exciting. We just have to make labels for them. So the family's working on that. So, as I said, I am going to pirate. What? Mine? Oh, no. I don't know. I have to think about that. Marley wants to do my warrior makeup. What does everybody think about that?
Yes. You look like a princess.
No, I don't want to look like a princess. I want to be a warrior. Grim says do it. In all capital letters.
Do it.
Well, listen, y'all. It's coming up to the end of my 2 hours here, chewing your ears off here on MSP, but I've gotten the green light to pirate. So I've got just under 10 minutes to finish chewing your ear off and go and pee and get into the pirate channel. And actually, I got to make sure that I've got the correct settings here for pirate. I'm pretty sure I do. I haven't changed them since God knows when. But I'm booting up, as I said, half of the solar tiny sound. The tiny sound minus the solar. Which means I now have to move this Mackie speaker back into its original position so I can reconnect it. I hear my hard drive. I think I'm going to have to, if y'all can still hear me, I think that I may actually have to, I just replaced the terabyte hard drive I spoke about earlier in the shockproof case recently from OWC. The original one I had for years. It had 3-year warranty. I had it for longer than that, and it finally crapped out. I just got this one months ago, and I've had a lot of faith in this company since the late 90s. They're a great company. But this brand new hard drive, which has a 3-year warranty, actually has been making some funny sounds, which I know is not a good sign for a hard drive. So fortunately, it is the backup. So I'll have to reach out to them Monday and see what they're gonna do about that. But I've got the Mackie plugged in.
This part of my new blue in the bottom of it.
So apparently, I'm gonna be a warrior tonight. I guess I don't know how I feel about
You're a
that.
warrior.
Too much PlayStation.
No.
What's everyone's favorite? We just I never talked much about gaming. I was a pretty avid gamer back when I was a kid, and I gave it up for years and years. And my last consoles were an N64. I had an N64 and a PS1 for years together, and a handful of my favorite games. And then I didn't game for like probably a good decade. We just acquired a PS3 for free, and we've fallen in love with this thing. We had a Wii. We've had a Wii for a number of years, which we love. I love Nintendo, but this is my first experience with a PS3 ever since owning a PS1 years ago. And other than the fact that I'm happy that I can play a couple of my favorite PS1 games on it, we're loving it. It's awesome. I've been meaning to actually pop back into the Op Gaming Discord. I don't know if these guys are still around, but when I first got on Steam, I did my first weekly drum and bass podcast actually with Gaming Discord, which ultimately became Op Gaming, which I think Crimmy has something to do with. So if maybe she can give me a clue if they're still around. I'd love to pop back in on those guys, talk some PS3 and play some music again. All right, so we're just about queued up. What I may do, y'all, is see if I could put on a tune or two for you real quick while I go and take a break and then come back and pirate. Let me look at the clock. Yeah, I think I can do that. All right, let's see. We're still loading. Give me a second. Oh. We got anything rolled?
What?
We got anything rolled?
No, we got a bong though.
Oh, we do, don't we? See this thing? This is not actually our bong. We just acquired this. It's dirty as hell.
You want me to give you a paper?
No. Social equality is impossible.
I'm busy.
They've made too many groups. I might agree with the too many groups thing. Social equality, I mean, as long as there's still things like imperialism and Sharia law, that's impossible. You're right. I'll buy that. As long as you still have things like imperialism and Sharia law. As long as there's still some semblance of racism and sexism and all the other isms. And it's going to take some time to breed that out of our species.
I already did.
White Walking Feather, a very good friend of mine, y'all are probably familiar with, Rob and the Paget family. The tribal elders have advised him, as a tribal elder, as a fellow elder, that we have 7 generations to get this shit right, or we're fucking done. And I do buy that. No, see, that's the thing about genetics, Ron. We always forget about epigenetics, and it's largely misunderstood. Genetics is not quite what people think it is. It's not this neat cookie cutter thing. It's very much environmental. You know, you can be a piece of shit regardless of what color eyes you are, how tall you are, or whether or not you have cerebral palsy. You know what I mean? So, I'm trying to find a tune for y'all. I hope you liked the bumper music I played for y'all earlier. That was produced by a good friend of mine by the name of Devin Stryker out of Ocean County, New Jersey. He is a wonderful photographer and a hardcore and industrial kind of musician. And he's sent me a bunch of cool little instrumental stuff that I can use on the show whenever I want. And so, as I said, I'm going to be stepping up my podcast game, y'all. I'm even going to have a little pre-recorded intro like Ziggy has. But it's going to be way cooler than his. I'm going to do like a nice, put effects on my voice and a nice deep, the movie guy voice. God, isn't it funny? I noticed the other day we went to see Hellboy. Actually, there's a really nice movie theater walking distance from us. And it actually dawned on me that the movie guy no longer exists, and like you don't hear anybody narrating trailers anymore.
Mr. Movie Phone? You mean?
No, the guy. No, Movie Phone's a different guy. That's a different voice. That's hello and welcome to Movie Phone. No, the guy who always narrated all the trailers, and then he died like probably a decade ago, maybe longer. I know y'all know what I'm talking about. Aha. That's definitely a tune y'all need to hear. Alright, let me see if I got... Y'all hear that? Yeah, somebody could Google and find out the movie voice guy's name. It's not the Movie Phone guy. That's a different voice. I'm pretty sure he's still alive.
Put it down.
Alright, I've got something queued up that I think will be very appropriate for tonight's pirate session. I just need to make sure you guys can hear it. Alright, let me look at my... It should... That's very appropriate, Gim. It should sound like UFO. Alright, so we've got 1 minute to go on the official broadcast. Ladies and gentlemen, I must thank you so much for bearing with me today and sticking around. You've been an absolutely wonderful audience. As always, all the old heads and the new heads. Canna Curate, Greenhouse Radio Online. Sorry I couldn't get you on the air. We will get that straightened out. You're listening to MSPWaves.com, live and worldwide. This is Hangin' with Who, live from the city of Asheville, North Carolina. I am your friendly feathered Stevian White Owl, aka the Who Banger. We're going to be coming at you in the Pirate Channel in just a bit. Stay tuned for the Hip Hop is Dead tour, the Solar Tiny Sound raffle. Check out movement19.org. As I said before, MSPWaves.com, Canna Curate, Greenhouse Radio Online, Steam Music Association, my good people, One Media and Divine and Rondon and Krim and the whole crew and Pensive. Thank you so much, y'all. Absolute honor and a pleasure. And as I said, please join us in the Pirate Channel in just a moment.